Welcome to Smart Muses, where everything is awesome and where we talk about many, many different things. And tonight we're talking about Harry Potter because we're continuing with it because we're all getting cozy and all holed up for the next Snowmageddon. We shall see if it happens and if it's as bad as we think. But then again, that is always relative to where you are because it can be very different. Like something that might not be a big deal in a more northern state is a huge deal in a southern state. But in any case, while we're getting ready, while we're cozying up, so I might have more time to read some more, I was able to read the next part of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, aka the Philosopher's Stone. Of course, it is more accurately, I know, called Philosophers, but you know what? This is the version I have, so this is the version I'm using. Hello, I see you there. Everyone coming in, please leave a like, comment, a share, and a subscribe, and let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of these chapters. Are they good? What do you think of Sorcerer's Stone? Yes, because this is also a review. Also, what else is there? Well, there is the upcoming Harry Potter series, which I have a lot of reservations about. Of course, it'll be a while before it debuts, but, well, they're making it. And we have the cast, and, well, you know, we've already talked about that too. Well, what is the name of this chapter? Chapter 5 is Diagonally or whatever he says diagonally in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets and ends up somewhere else. But anyways, it starts off with Harry. He's waking up in the hut and hey, sunlight's coming in. Daylight is here. I've just been really noticing a lot of symbolism lately with things like daylight, darkness, storms, etc. And he's thinking it is a dream. And he's going to open up his eyes and he's going to be in his cupboard. And Hagrid was all just a dream. There was suddenly a loud tapping noise, and he's thinking, who could it be? Why, it's Aunt Petunia probably coming to get up and yell at him and do all of that. His heart sinking. But he still didn't open his eyes. It had been such a good dream. Tap, tap, tap. All right, I'm getting up. He sat up and Hagrid's heavy coat fell off of him. It wasn't a dream. The hut was full of sunlight. Sunlight. And the storm was over. The storm is over. Or, as we know, the storm is only just beginning. Hagrid himself was asleep on the collapsed sofa, and there was an owl rapping its claw on the window, a newspaper held in its beak. And one of the really cool things I feel about the Harry Potter universe is the way the owls work and they come around and deliver the mail. It's really cute. And Harry is so happy he felt as though a large balloon was swelling up inside of him. She's really good at this kind of imagery. He went straight to the window and jerked it open. The owl swooped in and dropped the newspaper on top of Hagrid, who didn't wake up. The owl then fluttered onto the floor and began to attack Hagrid's coat. Don't do that! Harry tried to wave the owl out of the way, but it snapped its beak fiercely at him and carried on savaging the coat. Hagrid, said Harry loudly, there's an owl. Pay him. Hagrid grunted into the sofa. What? He wants paying for delivering the paper. Look in the pockets. And then he's looking at the coat and he's like, it seems like it's only like pockets. That's all that's in here. A bunch of the keys, slug pellets, balls of string, peppermint humbugs, tea bags. Finally, Harry pulled out a handful of strange looking coins. Give him 5 nuts. Nuts, or is it pronounced knuts? The little bronze ones. And let's see, Harry counted out 5 little bronze coins, and the owl held out his leg so Harry could put the money into a small leather pouch tied to it. Yeah, see, this has like very cartoony aspects to it. I can see how much little kids would like it. I never read these as I was a little kid. I was well into my 20s when these came out. Hagrid yawned loudly and sat up and stretched. Be off. Best be off, Harry. Lots to do today. Got to get up to London and buy all your stuff for school. Harry was turning over the wizard coins and looking at them. He had just thought of something that made him feel as though the happy balloon inside him had just gotten a puncture. What's going to make his balloon puncture? Hagrid, I haven't got any money. And you heard Uncle Vernon last night. He won't pay for me to go and learn magic. Don't worry about that, said Hagrid, standing up and scratching his head. Do you think your parents didn't leave you anything? But if their house was destroyed, They didn't keep their gold in the house, boy. Nah, first stop for us is Gringotts, Wizard's Bank. Have a sausage. They're not bad cold, and I wouldn't say no to a bit of your birthday cake neither. Cake for breakfast. Wizards have banks? Just the one, Gringotts, run by goblins. Harry dropped the bit of sausage he was holding. Goblins? Yeah, so you'd be mad to try and rob it. I'll tell you that. Never mess with goblins, Harry. Gringotts is the safest place in the world for anything you want to keep safe, except maybe Hogwarts. Huh, something to know and file away? As a matter of fact, I gotta visit Gringotts anyway, for Dumbledore, Hogwarts business. Hagrid drew himself up proudly. Got everything? Come on now. Then, rather. Harry followed Hagrid out onto the rock. The sky was quite clear now. Not only were we not storming, it's a clear sky, and the sea gleamed in the sunlight. Happiness! The boat Uncle Vernon had hired was still there, with a lot of water in the bottom after the storm. Though it's still cold, I can imagine. How did you get here? Harry asked, looking around for another boat. Flew, said Hagrid. Flew? Yeah, but we'll go back in this. Not supposed to use magic now I've got you. Or you're. Can't do it British style. They settled down the boat, Harry still staring at Hagrid, trying to imagine him flying. It just occurred to me, maybe he thinking that he flew like Superman. That would be crazy. Seemed ashamed to row, though, said Hagrid, giving Harry another of his sideways looks. If I was to speed things up a bit, would you mind not mentioning it at Hogwarts? Of course not, said Harry, eager to see more magic. Hagrid pulled out the pink umbrella again, tapped it twice on the side of the boat, and they sped off toward land. Why would you be mad to try and rob Gringotts? Harry asked. Spells, enchantments, said Hagrid, unfolding his newspaper as he spoke. They say there's dragons guarding the high security vaults, and then you gotta find your way. Gringotts is hundreds of miles under London, see? That's crazy. Hundreds of miles under London, even under the underground. You'd die of hunger trying to get out, even if you did manage to get your hands on Summit, rather. This British slang stuff's not working out with me. I think I've said that before, and I'll say it again. Harry sat and thought about this while Hagrid read his newspaper, The Daily Prophet. Harry had learned from Uncle Vernon that people liked to be left alone when they did this, but it was very difficult. Ministry of Magic messing things up as usual, Hagrid murmured. There's a Ministry of Magic? Harry asked, before he could stop himself. Of course. They wanted Dumbledore for minister, of course, but he'd never leave Hogwarts. So old Cornelius Fudge got the job. Bungler if ever there was one. So he pelts Dumbledore with owls every morning, asking for advice. And probably taking all the glory. But what does a Ministry of Magic do? Well, their main job is to keep it from the muggles that there's still witching wizards up and down the country. Why? Why? Blimey. Harry, everyone be wanting magic solutions to their problems. Nah, we're best left alone. That's true. Though this begs the question, don't wizards then want magical solutions to their problems? Isn't that the same thing? Human nature being what it is? And meanwhile, they got to the land and they clamber up onto the street. Passerby stared a lot at Hagrid as they walked through the little town to the station. Harry couldn't blame them. Not only was Hagrid twice as tall as anyone else, he kept pointing at perfectly ordinary things like parking meters and saying loudly, "See that, Harry? These things muggles dream up, eh?" Hagrid, said Harry, panting a bit as he ran to keep up. Did you say there are dragons at Gringotts? So they say. Crikey, I'd like a dragon. You'd like one? Wanted one ever since I was a kid. And then they get to the station, but Hagrid does not know muggle money very well, and so he trusts Harry to buy the tickets. And as they're getting on the train, Hagrid took up 2 seats and sat knitting what looked like a canary yellow circus tent. First of all, how epic is that? The fact that he is knitting, first of all, and I endorse knitting, but knitting on a train and Hagrid's knitting, that's so cool. And look who it is, also something that is very cool to Salty Traveling Sea. Happy Friday. Yes, we are reading Harry Potter this chilly evening or relatively chilly evening. It's not gotten cold yet because we are waiting for the snow and the ice and all of that. It originally was going to be hitting early tomorrow, but it looks like it's being pushed off to tomorrow afternoon, evening. We shall see because you know what? Who can predict the weather? Nobody can predict the weather. But in any case, yes, here we are reading Harry Potter because we like good entertainment. I'm curious if you did watch The Night of the Seven Kingdoms and if you liked it. I liked it very much. With one problem, but I ranted and raved about it enough in my review. But yeah, so we love the fact that Hagrid is knitting and knitting on a train. I remember when I was on a school tour in Ireland, we went up to Dublin for the day, and our teacher was knitting. She started a sweater like in the morning and was done with it by the evening. Still got your letter, Harry? He asked, counting stitches. Knitting nerds unite. I loved it. Yes, I loved it too. Yes, so good. And remember, good wins. That's what makes it so good too. My goodness gracious. It's very nice. Very nice to have something decent for a while. And for a while. Because as we all know, all good things usually do come to an end. But we're going to have a good first season of it. So Harry is looking at his list of things. Needs a uniform, 3 sets of plain work robes, black, 1 plain pointed hat, black for day wear, 1 pair of protective gloves, dragon hide or similar, 1 winter cloak, black, silver fastenings. Please note that all pupils' clothes should carry name tags. So typical. Don't I know it? Yeah, and when kids do not do that or parents do not do that, it is a nightmare for the teachers. Course books. The Standard Book of Spells by grade 1, A History of Magic. Bethilda Bagshot. We're going to be seeing her in the Deathly Hallows. Magical Theory, A Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration, 1,000 Magical Herbs and Fungi, Magical Drafts and Potions. Are any of these names anything that is famous? Here we go. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander, which he later turned into a real book and then into a movie series. The first one was pretty decent, the rest not so much. The Dark Forces, A Guide to Self-Protection. Other equipment. You need a wand, a cauldron, pewter, standard size 2. 1 set glass or crystal files, 1 telescope, 1 set brass scales. Student may also bring an owl or a cat or a toad, and the oars are all in caps because, as we know, everyone likes to do loopholes. Can we buy all this in London? If you know where to go. Oh, and I almost forgot, of course, a broomstick. But it says, not a broomstick. It says parents are reminded that first years are not allowed their own broomsticks. Well, this is curious. I'm wondering if this is a movie thing or a book thing because I do not remember. Then why did McGonagall give him a broomstick if they weren't allowed to have it? We shall see. But they always break rules for Harry. And I am sympathetic to the people that aren't too happy about that. It's not fair. Harry had never been to London before. Although Hagrid seemed to know where he was going, he was obviously not used to getting there in an ordinary way. He got stuck in the ticket barrier on the underground and complained loudly that the seats were too small and the trains too slow. Yes, indeed. I don't know how muggles manage without magic, he said as they climbed a broken down escalator. Of course, things are broken down all the time in life, aren't they? Hagrid was so huge that the crowd parted easily. Yeah, that's why having a friend like Hagrid is always fun to have. Let's see. So all Harry had to do is stay close behind him. They're passing all sorts of bookshops, normal things, but nowhere looked as if it would sell you a magic wand. This was just an ordinary street full of ordinary people. Could there really be piles of wizard gold buried miles beneath them? Isn't this fun? So, can you imagine as a kid, especially maybe if you live in London, you're like, oh my gosh, there's piles of magic gold, wizard gold. Were there really shops that sold spell books and broomsticks? Might this not all be some huge joke that the Dursleys had cooked up, though it would be an elaborate joke? Let's see. If Harry hadn't known that the Dursleys had no sense of humor, he might have thought so. Yet somehow, even though everything Hagrid had told him so far was unbelievable, Harry couldn't help trusting him. And then finally, Hagrid comes along and announces that it's a famous place, the Leaky Cauldron. It was a tiny, grubby looking pub. If Hagrid hadn't pointed it out, Harry wouldn't have noticed it was there. The people hurrying by didn't glance at it. Their eyes slid from the big bookshop on one side to the record shop on the other, as if they couldn't see the Leaky Cauldron at all. In fact, Harry had the most peculiar feeling only he and Hagrid could see it. Yeah. So that's one way, I guess, that the wizards are able to stay camouflaged. So I'm wondering, is it actually literally a spell, or is it that it's just a way to blend in, or because they're muggles, they can't naturally see it? I don't know. Maybe they'll explain it. And well, because Harry was going to ask, but of course, too late. So in they go. In they go, and let me see. For a famous place, it was very dark and shabby. A few old women were sitting in a corner drinking tiny glasses of sherry. Very British. One of them was smoking a long pipe. A little man in a top hat was talking to the old bartender, who was quite bald and looked like a toothless walnut. Yikes. The low buzz of chatter stopped when they walked in. How embarrassed. Everyone seemed to know Hagrid. Yeah, a place where everyone knows your name. They waved and smiled at him, and the bartender reached for a glass, saying, "The usual, Hagrid?" "Can't, Tom. I'm on Hogwarts business." And then they look at Harry, and it's all like, everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, can this be?" And suddenly everything went quiet, and everyone's running around Harry. Bless my soul, Harry Potter, what an honor. And people are rushing toward him, seizing his hands. There are tears in their eyes. Everyone's telling him, "Welcome back." And Harry's like, what on earth do I do? Hagrid was beaming. And then they say that suddenly Harry was shaking hands with everyone in the Leaky Cauldron. "Doris Crockford, Mr. Potter. Can't believe I'm meeting you at last. So proud, Mr. Potter. I'm just so proud. Always wanted to shake your hand. I'm all of a flutter," etc., etc. Diggle's the name. Daedalus Diggle. Hard to say these names. "I've seen you before," said Harry, as Daedalus Diggle's top hat fell off in his excitement. "You bowed to me once in a shop." "He remembers!" cried Daedalus Diggle, looking around at everyone. "Did you hear that? He remembers me." Yeah, this definitely can go to a kid's head. Harry shook hands with everybody, and everyone's like, "Yay, you're great." And then a pale young man made his way forward very nervously. One of his eyes was twitching. "Professor Quirrell," said Hagrid. "Harry, Professor Quirrell will be one of your teachers at Hogwarts." "Potter," stammered Professor Quirrell, grasping Harry's hand. I caught this right away. It's like, wait a second. I thought he couldn't touch him. And they made a bit of a fuss of that in the movie because he like refuses to shake Harry's hand and is able to cover it by being nervous. Now, I don't remember if this is a mistake that the books makes, or is the timeline different so that it's later that whatever happens with the magic is gonna be affecting it all. I don't know. Well, look who it is. It is DJ Play Nice. He is saying hello. Stopping by to say hi and leave a have fun and a thumbs up the live. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. All y'all be safe, have fun, take care of your crew, and rock. Well, thank you. You do the same. Thank you for stopping by and for the like. Definitely appreciate it. So he shakes Harry's hand, at least at this point in the book. And my cat is trying to fight he's trying to get his nose in the middle of my book. Okay, I'm going to try to switch hands. Got the book in another hand. Not my normal. I'm right-handed, so I don't know. This might not go well. What sort of magic do you teach, Professor Quirrell? The defense against the dark arts, muttered Professor Quirrell, as though he'd rather not think about it. Not that you needed a Potter. He laughed nervously. You'll be getting all your equipment, I suppose. And he's stuttering, but I'm not going to keep stuttering for you all. I've got to pick up a new book on vampires. He looked terrified at the very thought. But the others wouldn't let Professor Quirrell keep Harry to himself. And once it was all said and done, it took 10 minutes. And Hagrid's like, no, come on, we got to go. Everyone's trying to shake his hand. Everyone's grinning. Or rather, and Hagrid's then grinning. Told you, didn't I? Told you was famous. Even Professor Quirrell was trembling to meet you. Oh, little we knew. Is he always that nervous? Oh, yeah, poor bloke, brilliant mind. He was fine while he was studying out of books. Let's listen. But then he took a year off to get some first-hand experience. They said he met vampires in the Black Forest, and there was a nasty bit of trouble with a hag. Never been the same since. Or did something else happen? Now he's scared of the students, scared of his own subject. Vampires, hags. Hagrid, meanwhile, is counting bricks in the wall above the trash can. We know that they wouldn't say trash can in the British version. It would be bin, dustbin. 3 up, 2 across. Right, stand back, Harry. He tapped the wall 3 times with the point of his umbrella. The brick he had touched quivered. It wiggled. In the middle, a small hole appeared. It grew wider and wider. A second later, they were facing an archway large enough even for Hagrid. An archway onto a cobbled street that twisted and turned out of sight. Yay! And I'm hearing the music. You see, nothing that they do will be able to match the music from the original Harry Potter movie. And the visuals. Like, if they try to do it differently, that won't work. And if they try to use the same sets and designs, that won't work either. Just won't work. Let's see. So here they are at Diagonally. Speaking of the sun shone brightly. Yes, we are all happy here. On a stack of cauldrons outside the nearest shop. Cauldrons, copper, brass, pewter, silver, self-stirring, collapsible, and a set of sign hanging over them. Yeah, you'll be needing one, but we got to get your money first. So off they go to Gringotts. It says, Harry wished he had about 8 more eyes. He turned his head in every direction as they walked up the street. Yeah, all of the wonder that they're seeing. The shops, the things outside of them, people doing their shopping. A plump woman outside an apothecary what was she doing? Shaking her head as they passed, saying, dragon liver, 16 sickles an ounce. They're mad. And we have Ilips. Am I saying that right? Or is it Ilips? El Emporium. Tawny, Screech, Barn, Brown, and Snowy. Several boys of about Harry's age had their noses pressed against a window with broomsticks in it. The new Nimbus 2000. Fastest ever. There were shops selling robes, telescopes, strange silver instruments Harry had never seen before. Windows stacked with barrels of bat spleens and eels' eyes. Piles of spell books, quills, rolls of parchment, potion bottles, globes of the moon. Gringotts, said Hagrid. They had reached a snowy white building that towered over the other little shops. Standing outside its burnished brown doors, wearing a uniform of scarlet and gold was, that's a goblin, said Hagrid quietly as they walked up to the white stone steps toward him. The goblin was about a head shorter than Harry. He had a swarthy, clever face, a pointed beard, and Harry noticed very long fingers and feet. He bowed as they walked inside. Now they were facing a second pair of doors, silver this time, with words engraved upon them. Enter, stranger, but take heed of what awaits the sin of greed. Everyone should keep that in mind. For those who take but do not earn must pay most dearly in their turn. So if you seek beneath their floors a treasure that was never yours, thief, you have been warned, beware of finding more than treasure there. Yeah, and we know that they have a very nasty streak, which I guess is a good place to keep money. Like I said, you'd be mad to try and rob it, said Hagrid. A pair of goblins bowed them through the silver doors, and they were in a vast marble hall. About 100 more goblins were sitting on high stools behind a long counter, scribbling in large ledgers, weighing coins in brass scales, examining precious stones through eyeglasses. There were too many doors to count, and yet more goblins were showing people in and out of these. They go up to the counter. Hagrid says, "Hello, we've come to take some money out of Harry Potter's safe. You have the key, sir? Got it here somewhere." And as he's emptying all of his pockets onto the counter, moldy dog biscuits are going all over the goblin's book of numbers, and the goblin is not very happy about that at all. And let me see. Harry watched the goblin on their white weighing a pile of rubies as big as glowing coals. Yeah, the aesthetics of all of this, the beauty. Got it, said Hagrid at last, holding up a tiny golden key. That seems to be in order. And I've also got a letter here from Professor Dumbledore, said Hagrid importantly, throwing out his chest. It's about you know what in Vault 713. The goblin read the letter carefully. Very well, he said, handing it back to Hagrid. I will have someone take you down to both vaults. Griphook! We know who that is. Griphook was yet another goblin. Once Hagrid had crammed all of the dog biscuits back inside his coat. That is disgusting. I bet he smells like animal too. He and Harry followed Griphook toward one of the doors leading off the hall. What's the you know what in Vault 713? Harry asked. Can't tell you that, said Hagrid mysteriously. Very secret. Hogwarts business. Dumbledore's trusted me. More than my job's worth to tell you that. He is actually a big simp for Dumbledore. Griphook held the door open for them. Harry, who had expected more marble, was surprised. They were in a narrow stone passageway lit with flaming torches. It sloped steeply downward, and there were little railway tracks on the floor. Griphook whistled, and a small cart came hurling up the tracks toward them. They climbed in and were off. And they're going left, right, and going all over the place. And the cart is rattling. The car was also steering itself, but Griphook was steering anything. So it's kind of like one of those Waymo or Waypro. Is it Waymo? Self-driving cars. And Harry's eyes are stinging and all that because all the cold air is rushing past, but he wants to keep looking. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Now my cat did get stuck in my microphone. So, yes, that's what happens. Okay, maybe he's going to go out the other way. Okay. And let's see. Oh, this is where he imagines, or is he imagining, that he sees a burst of fire at the end of a passage. He twisted around to see if it was a dragon, but too late. They plunged even deeper, passing an underground lake where hume stalactites and stalagmites grew from the ceiling and the floor. So we got some seriously ancient things going on here as well. Again, great aesthetics, medieval feel, ancient feel. And Hagrid's getting car sick. He did look very green. And when the car stopped at last beside a small door in the passage wall, Hagrid got out and had to lean against the wall. Griphook unlocked the door. A lot of green smoke came billowing out, and as it cleared, Harry gasped. Inside were mounds of gold coins, columns of silver, heaps of little brown nuts. All yours, said Hagrid. Smiled Hagrid. Now, do we ever learn what the Potters did? Like how they had all this money? Did they inherit it? Whatever happened to Harry Potter's other grandparents? We never learned this. Or did Rowling ever put that in her Pottermore thing? All Harry's. It was incredible. The Dursleys couldn't have known about this, or they'd have had it from him faster than blinking. How often had they complained how much Harry cost them to keep, and all the while there had been a small fortune belonging to him buried deep underneath London. So they get a whole bunch of it into a bag. The gold ones are galleons, 17 silver sickles to a galleon, and 29 nuts to a sickle. It's easy enough. It would be easier if it was a round number, but that's a whole other story for another day. Right, there should be enough for a couple of terms. We'll keep the rest safe for you. And then they go off to the mysterious Vault 713. And he wants them to go more slowly, but the goblins all, sorry, only one speed. They were going even deeper now. The air became colder and colder as they hurtled round tight corners. They went rattling over an underground ravine, and Harry leaned over the side to try to see what was down at the dark bottom. But Hagrid groaned and pulled him back by the scruff of his neck. And then finally they got to 713, but it had no keyhole. Stand back, said Griphook importantly. He stroked the door gently with one of his long fingers, and it simply melted away. If anyone but a Gringotts goblin tried that, they'd be sucked through the door and trapped in there, said Griphook. Booby trap. How often do you check to see if anyone's inside? Harry asked. About once every 10 years, said Griphook, with a rather nasty grin. Something really extraordinary had to be inside this top security vault. And he's looking inside to see what it is, and at first he even thought it was all empty. But no, there was a grubby little package wrapped up in brown paper. Hagrid picked it up and tucked it deep inside his coat. Harry longed to know what it was, but knew better than to ask. Come on, back in this infernal car, and don't talk to me on the way back. It's best if I keep me mouth shut. Oh, that's so gross, but car sickness sucks. One wild cart ride later, they stood blinking in the sunlight outside Gringotts. He didn't know how many galleons there were to a pound to know if he was holding more money than he'd had in his whole life. More money than even Dudley had ever seen. Might as well get your uniform, said Hagrid, nodding toward Madame Malkin's robes for all occasions. Listen, Harry, would you mind if I slipped off for a pick-me-up in the leaky cauldron? Dude needs a drink. I hate them Gringotts carts. He did still look a little sick, so Harry entered Madame Malkin's shop alone, feeling nervous. Madame Malkin was a squat, smiling witch dressed all in mauve. Hogwarts, dear, she said when Harry started to speak. Got the lot here. Another young man being fitted up just now, in fact. At the back of the shop, a boy with a pale, pointed face was standing on a footstool while a second witch pinned up his long black robe. So we have a description. A boy with a pale, pointed face. Harry stood on a stool next to him, and Madame Malkin, she puts a robe over his head, and she's starting to fit him. Hello, said the boy. Hogwarts too? Yes, said Harry. My father's next door buying my books, and mother's up the street looking at wands, said the boy. He had a bored, drawling voice. Then I'm going to drag them off to look at racing brooms. I don't see why first years can't have their own. I think I'll bully father into getting me one, and I'll smuggle it in somehow. Bully father, eh? Harry was strongly reminded of Dudley. Have you got your own broom? The boy ran on. No, said Harry. Play Quidditch at all? No, Harry said again, wondering what on earth Quidditch could be. I do. Father says it's a crime if I'm not picked to play for my house, and I must say I agree. Know what house you'll be in yet? No, said Harry, feeling more stupid by the minute. Well, no one really knows till they get there, do they? But I know I'll be in Slytherin. All of our family have been. Imagine being in Hufflepuff. Poor Hufflepuff. People are not nice to Hufflepuff. Are they really so bad? And Harry's sitting there kind of being non-committal because he doesn't want to make a fool of himself in front of this boy. I say, look at that man, the boy said, suddenly nodding toward the front window. Hagrid was standing there, grinning at Harry and pointing at 2 large ice creams to show he couldn't come in. That's Hagrid, said Harry, pleased to know something the boy didn't. He works at Hogwarts. Oh, I've heard of him. He's a sort of servant, isn't he? He's a gamekeeper, said Harry. He was liking the boy less and less every second. Oh, no, that's harsh. Salty Traveling Sea says, death before Hufflepuff. Death is better than Hufflepuff. No, no. Justin Loyal. I was pretty much Hufflepuff most of my life. Then I turned Slytherin. When I'm generous, I call myself Slitherpuff. They're not all bad. My gosh. I heard he's a sort of savage, lives in a hut on the school grounds, and every now and then he gets drunk, tries to do magic, and ends up setting fire to his bed. Actually, that sounds exactly like Hagrid. Oh, Salty Traveling Sea says, I'm solid Gryffindor. Yeah. I lean more and more Slytherin the older I get. I've earned it. I think he's brilliant, said Harry coldly. Do you? Said the boy. Why is he with you? Where are your parents? They're dead, said Harry shortly. Oh, sorry, said the other, not sounding sorry at all. But they were our kind, weren't they? They were a witch and wizard, if that's what you mean. I really don't think they should let the other sort in, do you? They're just not the same. They've never been brought up to know our ways. Some of them have never even heard of Hogwarts until they get their letter. Imagine. I think they should keep it in the old wizarding families. What's your surname, anyways? But before Harry could answer, Madame Malkin said, That's you done, my dear. And Harry, not sorry for an excuse to stop talking to the boy, hopped down from the footstool. Well, I'll see you at Hogwarts, I suppose, said the drawling boy. Harry was rather quiet as he ate the ice cream. And what's the ice cream? Check this out. It is chocolate and raspberry with chopped nuts, which actually sounds amazing. What's up? Nothing. Harry lied. Of course, when a kid says nothing, you know that that's not the case. They stopped to buy parchment and quills. Harry cheered up a bit when he found a bottle of ink that changed color as you wrote. Hagrid, what's Quidditch? Blimey, Harry. I keep forgetting how little you know, not knowing about Quidditch. Don't make me feel worse. He told Hagrid about the pale boy and Madame Malkin's. And he said people from Muggle families shouldn't even be allowed in. You're not from a Muggle family. If he'd known who you were, he's grown up knowing your name. You saw what everyone in the Leaky Cauldron was like when they saw you. Anyways, what does he know about it? Some of the best I ever saw were the only ones with magic in them and a long line of muggles. Look at your mum. Look what she had for a sister. So what is Quidditch? It's our sport, wizard sport. It's like soccer in the muggle world. We know in the British version it would say football. Everyone follows Quidditch. Played up in the air on broomsticks, and there's 4 balls. And we will get the details later because Hagrid doesn't want to explain it this time. And what are Slytherin and Hufflepuff? Schoolhouses. There's 4. Everyone says Hufflepuff are a lot of duffers, but I bet I'm in Hufflepuff, said Harry. Better Hufflepuff than Slytherin, said Hagrid darkly. Oh man, everyone's dissing every other house. There's not a single witch or wizard who went bad who wasn't in Slytherin. You know who was one. Dun, dun, dun. You know who was at Hogwarts? Years and years ago. We learn later when Hagrid was there. So they go and buy a bunch of books in Flourish and Blotts, where the shelves were stacked to the ceiling with books as large as paving stones bound in leather, book the size of postage stamps covered in silk, books full of peculiar symbols, and a few books with nothing in them at all. It sounds cool. Even Dudley, who never read anything, would have been wild to get his hands on some of these. And there's all sorts of books, especially one of this one's that's called Curses and Counter Curses. Bewitch your friends and befuddle your enemies with the latest revenges. Revenge. I'm all for revenge. Hair loss, jelly legs, tongue tying, and much, much more. By who? Professor Vindictus Viridian. You see, my goodness gracious, this is part of my problem here. Maybe all of these words all starts with V's and V's and D's and D's. And look who it is. It is Dadman walking. Hello there. Thank you for being here. Hey there, wonderful reading voice. Oh, well, thank you very much. Salty Traveling Sea says, respect to Ravenclaw, but I scoff at Huffleputts. Ouch. Oh. Well, present company mostly accepted. I'm definitely just and loyal, but not loyal to a fault, I can tell you that. And let me see. I was trying to find out how to curse Dudley. I'm not saying that's not a good idea. I mean, speaking of which, yeah, he had just gotten done doing it to a kid. But you're not to use magic in the muggle world except in very special circumstances. Okay, so they do have the rules. So why was Petunia talking about Lily transforming rats into teacups and things? And since that is a real transfiguration spell, she wasn't just making it up. So what's going on? And anyway, you couldn't work any of them curses yet. You'll need a lot more study to get on that level. Hagrid wouldn't let Harry buy a solid gold cauldron either. It says pewter on your list, but they got a nice set of scales for weighing potion ingredients and a collapsible brass telescope. Then they visited the apothecary, which was fascinating enough to make up for its horrible smell, a mix of bad eggs and rotted cabbage. Yuck. And in there's all sorts of slimy stuff. There's jars of herbs and roots and powders lining all the wall. I love the way everything is just so old. I know I've said that before, but I'll say it again. Bundles of feathers, strings of fangs. It's like being in an old antique mall. While Hagrid asked the man behind the counter for a supply of some basic potion ingredients for Harry, himself examined silver unicorn horns at 21 galleons each and minuscule glittery black beetle eyes. 5 nuts a scoop. And then they go just one more left. We need to get a wand. Yes, we do, precious. Let's see. Oh, yeah. And I still haven't got you a birthday present. Harry felt himself go red. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. Tell you what, I'll get your animal. Not a toad. Toads went out of fashion years ago. You'd be laughed at. And I don't like cats. They make me sneeze. Oh, cats. Let's see. I'll get you an owl. All the kids want owls. They're dead useful. Carry your mail and everything. 20 minutes later, they left Ilops Owl Emporium, which had been dark and full of rustling and flickering jewel-bright eyes. Harry now carried a large cage that held a beautiful snowy owl. We know who that is. It's Hedwig, fast asleep with her head under her wing. He couldn't stop stammering his thanks, sounding just like Professor Quirrell. Don't mention it, said Hagrid gruffly. Don't expect you've had a lot of presents from the Dursleys. Just Ollivanders left now. only place for wands, Ollivanders, and you gotta have the best wand. A magic wand. This was what Harry had been really looking forward to. I wouldn't mind one either, especially when they did housework. The last shop was narrow and shabby. Peeling gold letters over the door read, Ollivanders, maker of fine wands since 382 BC. Well, at least in Harry Potter, they still say BC, not this BCE stupid stuff. A tinkling bell rang somewhere in the depths of the shop as they stepped inside. It was a tiny place, except for a single spindly chair that Hagrid sat on to wait. Harry felt strangely as though he had entered a very strict library. He swallowed a lot of new questions that had just occurred to him and looked instead at the thousands of narrow boxes piled neatly right up to the ceiling. For some reason, the back of his neck prickled. The very dust and silence in here seemed to tingle with some sort of secret magic. Because it is. Everything's magical. Good afternoon, said a soft voice. Harry jumped. Hagrid must have jumped too because there was a loud crunching noise, and he got quickly off the spindly chair. An old man was standing before him. Another description. Wide, pale eyes shining like moons through the gloom of the shop. Hello, said Harry awkwardly. Ah, yes, I thought I'd be seeing you soon, Harry Potter. It wasn't a question. You have your mother's eyes. Everyone is saying it in the book. Even Ollivander. It seems she was only in here yesterday, herself buying her first one. 10 1/4 inches long, swishy, made of willow. Nice work, one for charm work. And he keeps looking closer into him, and Harry's getting a little creeped out. He's like, yeah, this is, these silver eyes, I'm not so sure about this. Your father, on the other hand, favored a mahogany wand, pliable, a little more power and excellent for transfiguration. Well, I say your father favored it. It's really the wand that chooses the wizard, of course. Yes, the wand does choose the wizard. That's a famous line, too. And he keeps coming close, and they're almost nose to nose. Harry could see himself reflected in those misty eyes. And that's where Mr. Ollivander touched the lightning scar on Harry's forehead with a long white finger. Weird, these men touching him. I'm sorry to say I sold the wand that did it, he said softly. You, powerful wand, very powerful, and in the wrong hands, well, if I'd known what that wand was going out into the world to do, he shook his head. And then to Harry's relief, spotted Hagrid. Rubius Hagrid, how good to see you again. Oak 16 inches, rather bendy, wasn't it? It was, sir, yes. Good wand, that one. But I suppose they snapped it in half when you got expelled. Yeah, more detail? Gets snapped in half, and he got expelled, reminding us of that. Yes, they did, said Hagrid, shuffling his feet. I've still got the pieces, though, he added brightly. But you don't use them, said Ollivander sharply. No, sir, said Hagrid quickly. Harry noticed he gripped his pink umbrella very tightly as he spoke. Bunch of liars here. Said Mr. Ollivander, giving Hagrid a piercing look. Well, now, Mr. Potter, let me see. Which is your wand arm? Well, I'm right-handed. Hold out your arm. That's it. And so he goes about and measures his right arm from shoulder to finger, then wrist to elbow, shoulder to foot, knee to armpit, and round his head. As he measured, he said, every Ollivander, I'm assuming it's going to be wand, but I have to turn the page. Wand has a core of a powerful magical substance. So we're learning some wand lore here. We use unicorn hair, phoenix tail feathers, and the heartstrings of dragons. No two Ollivander wands are the same, just as no two unicorns, dragons, or phoenixes are quite the same. Harry suddenly realized that the tape measure was doing this on its own, and it was measuring between his nostrils. Why would it have to measure its nostrils? That's wild. I guess there's just weird things happening. Mr. Ollivander was flitting around the shelves, taking down boxes. That will do. And the tape measure crumpled into a heap on the floor. Right then, Mr. Potter, try this one. Dragon heartstring. Nice and flexible. Just take it and give it a wave. Harry took the wand and, feeling foolish, waved it around a bit. But Mr. Ollivander snatched it out of his hand almost at once. So in the movie, they had him blowing things up and it being out of control when it was the wrong one. But I guess Ollivander can sense it or something, or sense something's off, and he snatches it away probably before something terrible could happen, like what was in the book. So he keeps going and does a whole bunch of them, and they keep being snatched back and he tries. Harry had no idea what Mr. Ollivander was waiting for. The pile of tried wands was mounting higher and higher. But the more wands Mr. Ollivander pulled from the shelves, the happier he seemed to become. Tricky customer, eh? Not to worry. So I bet you he enjoys the challenge. And Salty Traveling Sea says, phrenology is critical to wand selection. Oh, well, there you go. And I'm not even going to pretend I know what I'm talking about. I am just going to plain Google it. Phrenology. Phrenology was a popular 19th century pseudoscience claiming that skull bumps revealed personality traits and mental abilities, based on the idea that the brain had specialized organs that grew with use, affecting skull shape. So a brain as organ of the mind, localized organs. The brain is divided into distinct organs, each responsible for a specific trait, size, equal power, and then skull mapping. Oh, there we go. You learn something new every day. I wonder. Well, why not? Unusual combination. Holly and phoenix feather, 11 inches, nice and supple. Harry took the wand. He felt a sudden warmth in his fingers. He raised the wand above his head, brought it swishing down through the dusty air, and a stream of red and gold sparks shot from the end like a firework. Now we have fireworks, throwing dancing spots of light onto the walls. Hagrid whooped and clapped, and Mr. Ollivander cried, "Oh, bravo! Yes, indeed. Oh, very good. Well, well, well. How curious. How very curious. Curious. Sorry, but what's curious?" Mr. Ollivander fixed Harry with his pale stare. "I remember every wand I ever sold. Every single wand. It so happens that the phoenix whose tail feather is in your wand gave another feather. Just one other. It's very curious indeed that you should be destined for this wand when its brother, why, its brother gave you that scar." Harry swallowed. Curious indeed how these things happen. The wand chooses the wizard, remember. I think we must expect great things from you, Mr. Potter. After all, he who must not be named did great things. Terrible, yes, but great. Harry shivered. He wasn't sure he liked Mr. Ollivander too much. So he pays for the wand and gets out as quickly as he can. Salty Traveling Sea says, it's the weird old science. Yes, indeed. Yes. Very popular in the 19th century. Well, and earlier. I think it's curious that a stream of red and gold sparks shot from the end of the wand because those are the colors of Gryffindor, or is it just a coincidence? The late afternoon sun hung low in the sky as Hagrid and Harry made their way back down Diagon Alley, back through the wall, back through the leaky cauldron now empty. Harry didn't speak at all as they walked down the road. He didn't even notice how much people were gawking at them on the underground, laden as they were with all their funny shaped packages, with the snowy owl asleep in its cage on Hagrid's lap. How cute! Up another escalator, out into Paddington Station. Harry only realized where they were when Hagrid tapped him on the shoulder. "Got time for a bite to eat before your train leaves," he said. He bought Harry a hamburger and they sat down on plastic seats to eat them. Everything looked so strange now. "You all right, Harry? You're very quiet." Harry wasn't sure he could explain. He had just had the best birthday of his life. And yet, "Everyone thinks I'm special," he said at last. "All those people in the leaky cauldron, Professor Quirrell, Mr. Ollivander, but I don't know anything about magic at all. How can they expect great things? I'm famous and I can't even remember what I'm famous for. I don't even know what happened when the night my parents died." And Hagrid's giving him a very kind smile, because we love Hagrid here at Miss Martin uses. "Don't you worry, Harry. You'll learn fast enough. Everyone starts at the beginning at Hogwarts. You'll be just fine. Just be yourself. I know it's hard. You've been singled out, and that's always hard. But you'll have a great time at Hogwarts." Oh, little he knows. I did. Still do. Oh, and then he helped Harry onto the train to take him back to the Dursleys, then handed him an envelope. "Your ticket for Hogwarts," he said. "1st of September, King's Cross. It's all on your ticket. Any problem with the Dursleys, send me a letter with your owl. She'll know where to find me." Aw. See you soon. Already he's so fond of him. The train pulled out of the station. Harry wanted to watch Hagrid until he was out of sight. He rose in his seat and pressed his nose against the window, but he blinked, and Hagrid had gone. Dun, dun, dun! The end. Or the end of this chapter. So, yeah, we're learning more and more lore. We've already met the Malfoy, or little Malfoy, heard a little bit about his father and his mother. We know now the 4 houses. We know the subjects. We know the books. We know that Voldemort and Harry have the same wand. He has an owl. We know how mail works. That really, really a lot of world building in a very short amount of time, like 5 chapters. And I love the way that she just reveals it. She integrates it into the story instead of exposition dumping on us, and very well done. But man, so far I've counted at least 2 that have said Harry has his mother's eyes, but it could be, did Dumbledore say that at the beginning? It's been a while since I've read the first chapter. I should probably keep a tab on who all says that they have Lily's eyes, but 2 that I would not expect it, one being Ollivander and the other one being Hagrid. Some of the lines, like "wasn't a wizard that ever went bad that wasn't in Slytherin," they took away from Hagrid. I remember a lot of people that are really, really, really solidly into the books were very annoyed by the movies that they give a lot of the lines to different characters, especially Ron's. Like, they give a lot of Ron smart things to Hermione, actually, to make Ron a little sillier. But I don't know. Maybe that's something they're gonna change in the new version, but I still say, once again, we don't need it. We didn't ask for it. So that's it. So stay tuned. We will be doing the cowboy campfire. We're going to be doing the Fistful of Dollars. That's the Western that I chose. Also, the, what you would call it, the casting of the Wheel of Time when I touch base with Prophet of the Dragon. The way they should be, in our humble opinion, our personal choices for who should be cast. Also, more Night Seven Kingdom reviews, perhaps here or perhaps on other channels. I'll be hopping around and more than happy to do so. Let me see. Anything else upcoming? Oh, yeah, I need to go over the books that I read in 2025, though, for the most part, it is the Wheel of Time. I read 30 books, and 15 or 13 of those at least were Wheel of Time. The other ones were a lot of history books. I did a lot of history books and religious ones. Let me see. Such a deep, beautiful world. Indeed. Again, beauty means things. We like to look at things that are beautiful, aesthetic, bright. We don't need gloom and all that bleh in our lives. Not at all. Not one little bit. So that's that. Um, I want to thank everyone that popped in to say hi. We had Salty Traveling C, we had Dad Man Walking 55, and DJ Play Nice, and many others popping in and out. Thank you for being here and showing your support. Hope you're enjoying going through these books. I will be doing Wuthering Heights as we get a little closer to the movie. And Harry Potter, of all of them, I'm not in a great deal of urgency for obvious reasons to go over it, because guess what? I don't even know when the first season's going to be coming out, probably at least in a year, and it'll be 10 years. But I do enjoy it. And maybe some random musings will come up. Maybe I'll have some musings if everything gets really bad and frozen, because that's where we're headed right now. And of course, now the cat's asleep, so he's not interrupting my microphone. No, that's just the way it is, isn't it? Well, hope y'all have a good evening. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day. And be certain to read good entertainment.